Is Toyota dying? Well, guess what? The Tundra, I think, has something to say about that. But it's not just the Tundra, because we've heard about the recalls. We've been hearing about this for 3 or 4 years now, just about. I mean, since 2022, we've heard that the Tundras have had these sort of problems. You know, that new V6, 3.4 liters, that V35A that they speak so highly about? See, Toyota's been trying to build reliable cars for many years. And a lot of people go to Toyota. It's one of the biggest car companies in the world, but it's also one that's been known for reliability that's enough that you can neglect it, you can abuse it, you can not do your oil changes, you can skip your filter changes, and it will still run 300, 400,000 miles. But it seems that that's not so much the case anymore. But it goes beyond just neglecting your car. See, because now the modern day Toyotas have a new problem. And the brand itself, from what I see, is really, really struggling. But it's not just the Tundra. See, this is where a lot of people get mistaken and they believe that the Tundra is the only one that's got this problem. And I want to expand on this because it's more than just the Tundra. Because there's a few models that use that brand new V35A. Yeah, that new twin turbo 3.4 V6 that Toyota had been rocking. Yeah, wonderful engine, right? Well, a lot of Tundra owners aren't necessarily agreeing with that statement. But it's the reliability, or lack thereof, that we're seeing in this new Tundras. Now, if you're out buying and you're out shopping for a new truck, then you'll attest, like me, I've been looking around and I've been trying to come up with a solution. What's a good, reliable, full-size truck? I can't find one. See, that's the problem. You know, as the consumers now, we're looking at the very cost of a lot of these vehicles today, and we wonder, how did they get to this so expensive? But most importantly, why are they so unreliable? I can't even think of a reliable full-size truck these days. I mean, sure, you can get into a base trim, you know, Ford F-150 XL. You can still get a base V6 3.3 liters. It doesn't have any EcoBoost or no turbos. That's probably one of the few engines that you can probably get that aren't going to run you in the poorhouse. Maybe the 5-liter Coyote at Ford. That's about it. All of these new engines are turbos. Same thing with Stellantis and the Rams. Of course, they're inline 6. And of course, even Toyota. Go figure. They're trying the same thing. They're going turbocharged. Why? Well, I don't know. You can say carb emissions. You can say EPA. You can call it the future looking forward, with more hybrid and more electrification and less, internal combustion. But I don't know what Toyota's been thinking. And in the last little while, they've been creating these drivetrains that have been a little bit less than more desirable. Now, the Tundra, we've been hearing about this. The recalls have been hitting them. 100,000 recalls. On what? The Tundra? Yeah, the non-hybrid version of the Tundra that's been using that V35A has been a big problem. And it's garnered a reputation that Toyota has not been okay with. See, the unfortunate part is Toyota has been part of a manufacturer that most people just flock to Toyota by default. They assume, hey, I want a reliable car, I'm going to go buy a Toyota. But see, reliability and Toyota don't necessarily go hand in hand anymore. And from what I can see, in my own personal take, that's just not the case. See, what I'm seeing now, Toyota, they also have Lexus. And everybody loves Lexus because why? It's an easy luxury car brand to own. Everybody scoffs and laughs at the likes of the BMWs, the Audis, the Mercedes. Well, they've been having troubles for years with a lot of their overcomplicated, highly problematic vehicles. Now, so it happens, Lexus is in the same boat. I was at the dealer a while back and I came across a Lexus LX600. That's the revamp, the full size, the big grandpappy of their SUVs. The LX, it used to be a 570 when they had that old V8, right? The 5.7. That happened to be the same V8 that they had in the Tundra a few short years ago. And it was absolutely reliable. People were sick of it. It was so reliable. I actually even talked to some people recently that said that they owned some of those older Toyotas and they just got bored of them. The Lexus, they got bored of it. It was a little thirsty, sure, but you never had to fix anything. It was pretty much almost unstoppable and almost to the point of boredom. And see, if there's one thing that people can say about Toyota, it's boring to a fault. But things are changing because there's more to talk about with Toyota and these recalls. See, because that 100,000 recalls for these problem engines that they initially said involved 2022 and 2023 Toyota Tundras, guess what? They've expanded that now to 24 and possibly beyond. See, this year there's still people dealing with problems, engine replacements. Why? Because of particulate that allegedly was a big part of the contributing factor to the engines failing. The bearings in the engine at the bottom, the reciprocating mass, are apparently, allegedly, getting taken out. You're getting metal particulate that wasn't cleaned out properly in the machining process, winding up in the bearings, hanging up, overheating. Next thing you know, they're spinning a bearing. Well, that's what some are saying. For a while there, Toyota was even commenting that, you know what, might have to do with poor fueling, might have to do with a few other factors, but they looked at it more as a one-off, and from what I can see, it wasn't taken as seriously, from my perspective, that a lot of people would probably assume that it should have been. I mean, look at the likes of Kia and the Theta 2 and the Hyundai products. Those are trash. They've been junk for years because of all the burned out bearings and, you know, burning cars because of bad bearings. And again, some of their problems were allegedly to particulate floating around in the oil. But the way it works now is it appears that Toyota's dealing with a very similar problem. They've got this something metal floating around in the oil, taking out these bearings. And some say there's other mechanical reasons why. Maybe it's a bad design, bad engineering, whatever it is. Guess what? But that engine's been in other cars. Yes, it was in a Lexus car beforehand, and it didn't seem to have a whole lot of problems. But now, the ones that seem to be afflicted are the new Tundra, which I speak of, as well as the Lexus LX 500 or 600, which I just mentioned. The 600 is the new, uses the same engine as the Tundra. Okay, great. But guess what? That doesn't end there, because the latest word is there's even more recalls. Yes, the latest is, I can't believe this, we're even still talking about this. Back in 22, 3, 4, we're in 25 and we're still talking about this. And the way it looks like it's going to continue spilling over into 2026, maybe beyond. And the worst part is, we're no longer 100,000 recalls. We're now allegedly at 127,000 recalls. Compliments to our friends at NHTSA looking out for us, right? But the way it looks right now is there's more problems. Remember, for a while there was sort of that smoking gun, there was sort of that elephant in the room, if you will, you know, the Lexus GX 550. Well, that was basically like a Land Cruiser on steroids. It looked the same, felt the same, but it had a 3-row, and it gave you this new V35A engine, the 3.4 liter twin turbo V6 that we found in the Tundra and the LX 600. And while the Tundra and the LX were receiving all this negative press about brutal engine failures and engine out changes and long block this and short block that, and customers waiting for 100 days, 150 days and beyond to get their vehicles back on the road, the GX 550 was sailing along in the wings. And I always knew that there'd be a time, because that same vehicle is built in a very similar place. I mean, when we talk about the manufacturing location, it's all built in the US. This 3.4, Texas, and I believe, I don't know, Indiana or something, it's built in a couple of locations in the US. But the GX 550 has been sort of skating around all the noise until now. Now we're at 127,000 recalls targeting that engine. But you know what? I'm going to expand on this, because in my own personal opinion, I'm looking at yet another elephant. See, we're all talking about elephants here. And there's people on the internet, and there's certainly channels that thrive on being the Toyota enthusiast and the Toyota end-all be-all. I'd like to hear more from those videos, those channel content creators on this matter. And I've seen some of the content, but ultimately nobody's really pointing to the whole picture. And is it particulate? Is it a bad design, bad bearings, bad suppliers? There's a million things we can go down and channels we can discuss. But there's another vehicle that nobody's been talking about. And see, now we're talking about more vehicles. It wasn't just, okay, initially it was the Tundra. Then it was the LX 600. Now the latest is the GX 550. But guess what? I'm going to expand on this one more. Now, this isn't in the news yet. This is my own personal belief. What do you think is going on with the Sequoia? The brand new full-size Toyota, the Sequoia, which, guess what? It's more or less a large sized Toyota, essentially very similar to the LX 600. It's a big, large, body-on, ladder-type frame chassis that we're seeing from Toyota that uses that same V35A. But nobody's talking about the Sequoia now. The Sequoia is brand new. It's fresh on the market. It's a great looking truck. Very big, very large and in charge. And I like them personally. I'd like more for Toyota to get past this problem so I can go shopping back at their stores again. And you know, I bought a Camry a few years ago. I bought a 2022 because it was the last of the NA engines. It was a 2.5. And I bought it because I knew Toyota at that point was still dealing with good engines on their way out. The 2.5s, the 3.5 liter V6s, 3.7 and the 4Runners and 4 liters and all these great engines that they've had over the years. 5.7s, 4.6, 4.7 V8s. They've been known and notorious for having reliable engines. But things have been changing. And unfortunately, it's a bit of an avalanche of problems. See, it's the Tundra, now the LX600, even more so the GX550. And again, I'm going to throw in the mix my own personal prediction. Right here, you heard it, folks. My prediction is the Toyota Sequoia will be on the hit list as well. Now, I hope this all gets sorted out very, very soon because this does not bode well for the brand, the reliability, the reputation. And when we want reliable vehicles, we always default to brands like Toyota, Lexus. Why? Well, we've seen Honda slide in the last few years with their 3.5. They've had rod bearing problems. Their 1.5 turbo 4s because of oil and fuel dilution. Their CVT transmissions have been a problem. And Honda's been sliding. They've actually, if you look at consumers' reports, they've been dropping. So what does that leave? Car brands like Volvo? I mean, that has no right even being talked about in the same space as Toyota and Honda. But guess what? These brands like BMW are making their way up to the top. Like they say, the cream rises to the top. Now, BMW is a fun brand, but nobody would ever blame them or accuse them of being the most reliable brand on the planet. But guess what? According to consumers' reports, they're making their way up the list. Now, Mazda is a great brand that looks to be still a little bit on the simpler side and a very reliable manufacturer. But what does this leave for Toyota? Is in fact Toyota brand dying? I hope not. I've got a Toyota. I love them. And I have an older RAV4 too. And that one's even better because it's bought, paid for, cheap, dirty, change the oil and go on. And that's the old Toyota that we love. That's the Toyota that we all expect. But things have been changing. This transition to turbocharging. Remember BMW went that N54 way back in 07. They came out with that twin turbo straight six. BMW fought for years to try to get reputation monkey off their back. But they finally brought their product, vastly up. It's vastly better. It's not perfect, but it's better than it's ever been. Meantime, Toyota was enjoying the fruits of naturally aspirated drivetrains, living up the high life with reliability, having tags right all over their foreheads, right like that. But things are changing now. Lexus, things are changing. They're getting rid of some of their great engines. I mean, think about that great 5-liter in the LC500. That's going away in 26. The IS 500 going away. All these models with that great naturally aspirated V8, they're going away. And all of these Lexus and Toyota products are now being replaced with 4-cylinders, hybrids, turbo engines, 2.4s, turbo 3.4s. And it begs a question, where's the reliability gone? And what does the future look like for Toyota? If you want a reliable car, is Toyota in fact still the brand that we can trust? I don't know. I've got a couple myself. I still put faith in some of the older models, but I'd like to hear your thoughts down below. Where do you think Toyota is in the next 5 to 10 years? By the time everybody switches over to EVs and they're still hanging on to what's left of hybrid drivetrains, I don't know. Please do drop me a line again, everybody. And again, as always, have a wonderful day and we'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.